Hello, welcome to the IMU Board of Trustees of Electric, Water, and Communication Utilities, November 28th. Jackie, would you take a roll call, please?
Board Member Selgrade,
Present.
White,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Raska,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Here. Chris, can you hear us?
Sure can.
Chris
I didn't know she was
Planks
here.
is joining Zoom tonight because he has not sounded good for a while now, it sounds like. Sounded like crap. But I don't, Lisa thought he might be in on Zoom. He's on Zoom. I'm not sure what he is. We're gonna go ahead, Lisa. You can just let us know when you think you've got him. That'd be great.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
At this time, we take any public comment. If anyone would like to step forward and state your name and address. No public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda, let's start with the approval of claims. Any questions or concerns with what was sent with the agenda and earlier last week?
One question. Why did we buy baby blankets?
You're not the first to ask.
We have a life event policy that covers marriage, birth, death, hospitalization up to a certain amount. We had 2 employees, we had baby girls in October, so that.
I've never seen that before, to my knowledge. Is that something we've done? Or has it been a while since we've had any kids?
Probably,
Been a few years.
yeah.
I saw that. I go, what the
Let's
heck?
start to cycle again.
The same question.
Any other questions on the claims? Okay, moving on to the minutes from the November 14th. Any questions or concerns with those?
To approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to the electric utility informational items. Mike, do you have anything tonight?
Just a few, turbinate control, the, project that bid opening will be this Thursday. So the next meeting we'll be bringing those bids back. Fuel prices, give you an update on that. Remember back in August, we purchased fuel, just under 15,000 gallons for $3.38 a gallon. Today's price was, $3.04 per gallon. If you look out at the trend, on the futures, it doesn't go down a whole lot more than that. It's like 2.8. That's 12 months out. So I'm bringing it kind of back to see if there's any interest in maybe purchasing some more fuel. We roughly purchased 50,000. Like I said, we started out with 140 because we were rolling 70 from last year into this year. So we had about 140 originally. So we got about 90.
We have 90,000 capacity. Is that what you're saying?
No, we've got 90,000 and to purchase.
You said 303?
304.
What will the train thing do if they go on strike? What does that, how does that affect?
Never know. It's a definite possibility that it could be an issue.
Well, I'm surprised it's lower because
I know,
Well,
that's
it's been
what I'm
gradually
saying, that
declining.
maybe.
To go ahead and buy some now.
I think they'd be a good move. Yeah. How much do we need?
When's the strike?
We could take it all. We could spend all of it.
Well,
We've got plenty of room to store.
First, they'd be.
We just need
people
to spend it all
agreed to
by
start
the end of the year,
Because there's no.
Fiscal year?
or-
fiscal year.
So how much, remind me how much the budget is and how much we spent so far?
We've spent 50,000 of 140,000.
140,000 budgeted.
140, I'm bringing forward last year's that we didn't spend. That were, typically we have 70,000 into the budget, which we talked about going forward. If the fuel price is gonna stay there, 70,000 is probably not gonna cover us and to keep our gallons.
So did we actually budget the account at 70,000?
Yes.
140,000?
70.
You're counting that
last year that we did.
There's really money from last year that we didn't spend.
Government end.
Struggle with that.
We talked about it last year, but the prices were so high that we just said we need to push that money.
We delayed intentionally until August, right?
I'd say finish it out.
Yeah, I'm fine. I agree.
Kind of where I was at with it as well. Kind of, kids can give you an idea. After we bought in August at 338, it jumped a whole almost $1 in 30 days in. So I think we've kind of hit the low for now as well.
You did a good job watching that, Mike.
And we're just wrapping up underground projects. Kind of got hit with that cold snap and then it warmed back up a little bit and we got back on a few things to wrap it up. Hopefully by next week, because it looks like it's gonna set in about 10 days again, so. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Water utility items?
Yeah, the action items, that warm water, they, water main, we gave them the territory and they ran water main right in front of this, so they, through the, all it says, have to ask request and our, as a staff saying yes again. So we're a mile away from our nearest main to run a line out that far. It's not feasible.
This is I'm telling exactly where this was, Lou, with the map that was there.
It's down, where the ball fields are, the middle school and the ball fields is south.
South of, so
Yeah.
is that 15th?
Oh, well,
Extended
it
more or less?
changes in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes, the address changes off of 15th and goes to.
This is in the same area. We've done some of this. before.
Yep, we've already had another one there for Titil.
Yeah.
And stuff, so it's down further south.
Do you have any concerns with that?
No, it's just, if there is land right to the east of the ball field that we have a developer that's interested in that, and there's been discussion about maybe running the water main further south to go all the way to Plainview to 15th there. But right now it's been put on hold. Someday it will get closer, maybe it'll be feasible, or keep going with developments, then we'll go on that route.
I need a first and second motion.
So move.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Motion carries. Any other utility items?
We got automatic systems down upgrading our SCADA controls. It's 40,000 of a $242,000 plant upgrades that we, came through the budget capitals and got process rolling. So they're down, they'll be down today, tomorrow, and the next day, replacing computers and towers and whatnot, and upgrading which is standard operating procedure. Been 12 years, so we'll get the new latest greatest, and like I say, 40,000 of the 242 that we will be doing here over the next winter months. Otherwise, we got a sewer issue down there. We're gonna get some sewer main. We had the wastewater department come down and jet it out again. It's collapsed, 24 years old, so we're gonna dig it up and in-house. Replace that sewer line there, so we'll be doing that here this week if we don't get stormed out tomorrow, depending if.
And where was that at?
At the plant, just south. Actually, what it is, it's not a sewer line per se, it's a discharge line for we lime soften, and then we discharge down to our lime pits, which then we dig out and stack so people can haul to the farm fields. It's that lime discharge line that has gone.
Is that on the land that they're gonna start with the solar farm?
The solar farm is around. We gave them a print of what we gotta keep for us. Water lines leaving the facility, water lines coming in, and this is that part there, our pits and stuff, and
Like the
we'll be in
east.
between. Yeah, between the stuff that we told them they couldn't have, that kind of thing. So otherwise,
24 years isn't very old.
yeah, you get bad pipe. We had a service line leak there last week that was repaired and that we got a call, and which is I've never known it to happen. They were getting shocked trying to fix and put a new water line in. Shocked, couldn't do it. So they called, what do we do? So I sent them up and we have put a ground rod in for them and grounded it to them so they could fix the service line for the house, could have water.
What was
It
caused?
was something in the house, was following the water line right out and shocking them. Where, you know, took the wrench right out of their hands type.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, so they were gonna get a hold of an electrician, but they didn't know it. They weren't getting shocked inside their home, but it was grounding and coming right there, and they had pinholes in their line. That we think was the electrolysis that was causing it. Yeah,
A fire risk, fire hazard?
They're grounding through their water line, so.
yeah. So once we set the ground rod on the house side of it, then they were able to finish up the work.
Just going through that.
Yeah, kind of there. But otherwise, like Mike said, we're trying to keep finishing up. We had, I think, 27 locates called in today, that kind of thing, you know, weather turned nice, so people are wanting to get stuff done. That's all I got.
Lori, can I interrupt before you go to the next item? I want to go back to the gas purchase. Probably for Chris, do we need to do a budget amendment for the additional?
We are looking at that. We are doing our reestimates right now to see what we had brought forward and where we're at with that. So we do expect to have to.
What you're thinking about that?
Or
Yeah, I don't have a lot to include other than, yeah, we continue to chase weather too, so probably a bunch of those locates are ours because we're trying to get drops in the ground before it completely freezes up. So hopefully we can squeeze out another week or so before we have to start putting temps down. So testing continues on our new ONTs, the gig aspires that I showed off here a month or so ago. Still working with Innovative on a few bugs on the provisioning side of things. Hopefully we'll get stuff resolved this week. Once that's done, we'll get stuff up on the bench running and then field test a few units. Right now, I think we're still looking at a Q1 launch at this point. So I think we're still on track. So hopefully we'll make some progress here in the next week or two. So, and other than that, just continue to work, as Chris mentioned too, on re-estimates and budgeting and capital expenses.
You mean calendar quarter?
questions for Kurt? Okay. Moving on to the combined electric, water and communications items. Chris Longer, do you want to kick off the conversation with Robert?
Tonight we have Robert Endress with Denman and Company here to present our fiscal year. Year ending June 30th, 2022. There's a presentation in your packet and I'll turn it over to Robert.
Thank you, Chris. I'll try to make this short and sweet for you tonight, but we do have the financial statement audit for us to look over this evening. We were on site back in September and I believe you do have the audit financial statements in front of you. Admittedly, it's a dense document. It's not a quick read. So we're gonna do this over a PowerPoint presentation, try to make this a little bit more condensed for you. We'll spend a couple minutes looking at the independent auditor's report, look at some summarized financial data for the fiscal year as well. Then I'll spend just a moment talking about internal controls and compliance. And then we'll wrap up with a shorter governance letter that we issue with each audit we perform. So diving right into that independent auditor's report, which you can find at the front of those audited financial statements. Just a couple reminders here on that 3-page letter. First, the financial statements we're about to look at are those of management. Management's responsible for ensuring that they're complete and accurate. They conform with accounting standards and that internal controls are in place to support the accuracy of those financial statements. Our responsibility as IMU's auditors, of course, is to perform an audit and to express an opinion on whether or not management's financial statements are indeed accurate. So we do that in accordance with our professional standards, which do include government auditing standards for a local government like IMU. And that starts with us first identifying those risks to the financial statements, what transactions and balances present the highest risk to an error to management's financials. And then we're going to develop audit testing approaches to help mitigate that risk. Those will include independent confirmation of accounts and balances, recomputations, analytical procedures, supporting documentation we're going to look at to gain an understanding of those transactions so that we can express that opinion. I am happy to say that we are issuing what we call a modified or a clean opinion on the financial statements, and that's the highest level of assurance that our profession can provide regarding the accuracy of financial information. So to dive right into those financial statements, here's just a real quick brief overview of the statement of net position or balance sheet for the utilities as of June 30, 2022. You have the prior year next to it as a comparison. Total assets of the utility is about 76 million. Overwhelming majority of that, of course, is the capital assets, so that infrastructure just north of 50 million. Liabilities running about 21 million. leaving us with a net position of about 54 million. Again, a majority of that is the net investment in capital assets, so illiquid. But we do have about $16.2 million worth of unrestricted net position. That would be the net positions really available to the utilities to execute as operating objectives for future years. Income statement or statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Total revenues of the utilities for the fiscal year, about 23.7 million, up about 1.5 million from the prior year. Fiber being the primary driver of that growth in the past fiscal year. Operating expenses, very stable compared to the prior period. And we're looking at operating income about 3.4 million, a bump of about 1.4 over the prior year. That operating income is overwhelmingly focused within the electric utility. But I did want to note that fiber is in the black this year. I think that's the first time fiber has been there. Of course, that was intentional. You know, it was become a plan for that to run deficit. But it looks like those deficit years are now behind us. Jumping over to our work on internal controls and compliance, part of our professional standards do require us to gain an understanding of internal controls during the course of our audit work. It's a little different than issuing an opinion or performing an audit over internal controls, but that gaining of an understanding allows us to better identify audit risk and better adapt to and develop audit testing approaches for transactions and balances. During the course of gaining that understanding, if we do identify deficiencies in internal control, we do have a responsibility to evaluate them and elevate them to management or to the board through the audit report. If we do identify any, I'm happy to say we do not have any deficiencies in internal control this year that require reporting in this audit report. Along with that, we do have some responsibilities. The state of Iowa asks us to look at certain compliance requirements to determine whether or not there are instances of non-compliance. There's a host of different things this might include, including minutes, posting of agendas, issuance of contracts, a host of others. We just have one item that was required to be reported this year related to fiber's deficit fund balance, of course, which was intentional and kind of planned. But we do have a responsibility to acknowledge that the deficit fund balance does exist. But even with that, in the next few years, we do expect that to kind of work its way out.
Robert, can I have you pause there?
Yes.
Because I think it's important to point out where we've come the last few years here. I think 2 years ago, didn't you? I don't remember the number. There was like 9 or 10
Several
deficiencies. Last year, there were, I don't remember the number, 3, 4, 5. And then now we're essentially at 0 other than the deficit balance for fiber. That's is a testament to, I think, the hard work that's occurred over the last several years to improve the financial statement reporting.
You beat me to it, Adam. You're absolutely correct. And I share the same set of testaments. Frankly, I did not expect IMU to get through those recommendations as quickly as they have. I think staff deserve a lot of credit for their hard work.
Thank you. Yep. Agreed.
One last item here. This is my last slide for you this evening. We do also issue a governance letter, which is our opportunity to speak directly to Board of Trustees regarding issues that we identified or things that we felt warranted governance's attention. Effectively, this is where we would air any dirty laundry we have. We don't have any dirty laundry, so this makes for a pretty, boring read, but we want boring governance letters.
Like
But I agree entirely. But as alluded here, there are a couple comments in there that I think are quite important that you'll note. First, we had no disagreements with management and the performance of our audit procedures, and no difficulties performing our audit. And I did want to stop here and just piggyback on what Adam mentioned there. I do want to thank staff for their hard work. We are frankly a burden to staff. We're pretty high maintenance, and staff work quite hard to accommodate us. And there's a clear desire that we've seen from IMU staff to listen to our recommendations and our ideas and thoughts, and have clearly worked quite hard to implement those as well. So thank you, Chris, and Chris, who hopefully is on the call, and the rest of the IMU's team for making our job as easy as it can be.
No, thank you, Robert.
With that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the audit, the financial statements, or anything else you might have for me this evening.
Not for you, Robert, but for Chris, or I never saw the full report.
So we got it Wednesday afternoon, and we did forward it on to Lori and Adam for a quick review. Just with the holiday, it was a quick turnaround. We got the governance letter. I will send those out tomorrow. I have hard copies here if anybody wants a hard copy.
I would take a hard copy. Don't mind. And when you send it, would you please remember to send it individually, not the distribution list? That's still not.
That, yes, I will.
So Robert, having come through this year as we have, which is great, what kinds of anticipation would we have, or what things would we anticipate for next year as we think about an audit?
Well, staff have a couple action items still on their to-do list, and I think they're still working diligently on those. Again, those action items do not represent deficiencies, so that's something that we can take heart in. But there's still some work to be done there and continue to migrate IMU to full accrual accounting. And there's admittedly some pain left for staff as they work through that. But from our perspective, we're going to kind of start anticipating seeing these become a little bit more routine, where hopefully staff aren't as stressed about it. You'll see me in November or early December kind of at a recurring basis, and that will be kind of the norm. So my hope is that the audit for the board and for staff just becomes part of that routine process and doesn't quite as stressful of an event as I'm sure it has been for the past couple of years.
What's left on to switch to accrual? What areas are left? Is it fixed assets or
Assets, yep.
depreciation on them? And
That's the biggest one. Yeah, there's a couple of little odds and ends too, but that's certainly the most significant of the ones that remain.
Are there still challenges with interaction with the city financials based on the way we do accounting differently?
What's your, I can answer from my perspective, but maybe you have a better one than I do, Chris.
Well, I guess day to day, not really. I think it does become more of an issue with our reporting, and when we have to like do our budget and get that to them, they still operate on a cash basis. So getting those types of things to them timely kind of pushes our timeline up a little bit, but I don't know if you want to speak to like some of the financial reporting.
Yeah, so I'm aware of those same pressure points that IMU and the city kind of face with budgets and year-end financial reporting. Most of it is essentially IMU is now having to communicate different information. The city is having to absorb different information. So as we get into rhythms, I don't expect that to be as big of a challenge either as that different source document becomes better understood.
I can ask a question.
Sure.
Do you see a time when the city would move away from cash basis?
Possibly, as cities get larger, they do move to accrual base from time to time, but typically speaking, cities are of our size and smaller are definitely cash basis. At least my experience has been, I'm not sure about everybody in Iowa.
And you know, it would be the smallest cash basis city or accrual basis city that I would see at this point. So Clive, Altoona are both cash basis cities, Norwalk. So it's Waukee, Urbandale, Ankeny that starts seeing the need to make that transition.
Anything else for Robert or the team? Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
like when the report's boring.
That's what we should like. Okay, it's time for us to move into other business, which is taking us into a closed session. So
Before you do that, my Lisa, thank you for helping me get into my email. Everything is cool. So yeah,
We are experiencing some audio issues. Chris has tried to speak a few times, so we will need to call him for the closed session.
all right, thank you.
the first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 380. Discuss marketing and pricing strategies. Proprietary information, the telecommunications division whose competitive position will be harmed by public disclosure that is not required of potential or actual competitors, and no public purpose served by such disclosure. Becky, will you take a look?
Motion.
Sorry. Now will you take a look?
Member Smith? Alaska?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Belgrade? White?
I just have thought after I read that great big message that. Okay, we're in closed session.